Right, let's see how bad this microphone is. Okay. Hello. Right, yeah, this is my first gig. The phone in the hand might have been a giveaway to that. I should begin by saying that I wanted to do stand-up for a very long time. Very, very long time, ever since I was a little boy. But I always pictured that my first gig would actually come in the shape of a best man speech, because that's sort of what everyone kind of imagines their first shot at telling jokes will be. So I've had to rejig my notes at quite short notice. So, if some things come in, we'll just work with it. Okay, so let's make sure. Okay, I've known Brian since we were both transferred to the sales and marketing department, probably about 3 or 4. Hang on. No, yes. Oh. It's a nice lead into Jenny with that. No, don't be worried. Yeah, good afternoon. Yes, it is just afternoon. Hello. Thank you very much for coming down to this wonderful place in this prime time 12:10 slot. When really, you know, it's fantastic to see you all down here, because when you look at what you're up against, I did a bit of research as to what else is on at the Fringe at this time. You could right now be watching Sketches of Mass Destruction, 4 stars from the Exeter Student Echo. My Father's Gloves, apparently an intimate look at the political situation in Lithuania, seen over, just up the road. If you like music, any Rage Against the Machine fans in here tonight? It's not tonight, it's the afternoon, we just established that, but you, sir, right. Are you a fan of Cooperation with the Machine? They are a tribute band. They are sort of a subversion of Rage Against the Machine. I mean, you might know their favourite. I see, I shall try to comply now. I see, I shall try to comply now. That's their refrain. That's from their first album. The government is doing the best it can in difficult circumstances. Do keep an eye out for the next EP. It's easy to criticise, but what are your positive solutions? There's another show called Arthur's Feet. I don't know what that's about. Black/White, which the West Wickham Chronicle says will change the way you think about the badger cull. And if you were at the Space on North Bridge right now, you could be watching a Spanish dance troupe present an interpretive retelling of The Matrix Reloaded. Shortly after that, there's the radicalisation of Bernard Manning, which is about a racist overweight comedian starting working for WikiLeaks. And believe it or not, he's still around. Shane Ward presents Human Backgammon Live. I actually went to that yesterday. It's surprisingly nuanced. And yeah, so okay, here we go. And yeah, all ducks belong to Prince Harry. That's a true fact. It's not particularly funny. It's just one of those constitutional quirks. He's keeping them in care until Prince George comes of age. So there we are. Innocent smoothies, huh? Yeah? Fucking hell. Should be guilty smoothies. Am I right, America? Sorry, it's very so I'm a bit zonked because I've actually just got out of quite a serious relationship. It was mutual, if you know what I mean. That means it wasn't mutual. No, I've been struggling a bit to kind of face up to what I'm feeling, and what I've actually found is helpful is I've thrown myself into the James Bond films. You know, I think that maybe I really enjoyed them as a child, something like that. They've really helped me through this time, and what I've actually done to really put closure on this whole thing is I've written a poem. And, well, I'm just going to read it to you now. I hope that's okay. It's a bit of a group therapy session, sorry. But, yeah, so thank you, and here we go. I thought our love would be forever, like diamonds. And that it would never die, like tomorrow. But it turned out that what we had was not enough, like the world. Skyfall. I cried so hard I couldn't look at myself in the mirror, like that guy who had diamonds in his face. You ate my heart like Blofeld's space shuttle ate other space shuttles on both sides of the Cold War, creating a lot of tension. But you paralysed me, like the GoldenEye satellite paralysed electronic devices. By your side, I felt invincible, like Jaws. But it turned out I was just asking for a sharp shock, like Oddjob. You were wild, too wild. Wild like those scenes with gypsy women fighting each other in From Russia with Love, which on balance aren't hugely politically correct. But I thought I could tame you, like Roger Moore did to Grace Jones, which, as a scene, is another relic of a less enlightened time. The chips were down. I thought I knew your tell. But like Mashif, you bluffed me well and poisoned me, which meant I had to use a device in my car to restart my heart. Most of this is a metaphor. Our conversations became needlessly drawn out, much like the first 19 minutes of The World Is Not Enough. I couldn't tell what was going on, like the first 6 minutes of Quantum of Solace. With you behind me, I'd have jumped from a plane. You'd have held me up like a Union Jack parachute. Now, I want to make this clear. I'm talking about the bit in The Spy Who Loved Me when Roger Moore jumps out of the plane with a Union Jack parachute, not the bit in Die Another Day when Toby Stephens jumps out of a plane with a Union Jack parachute. That's a really rubbish tribute, and he was actually playing the villain in that film, not James Bond. So why they thought that would be appropriate, I think it was fucking sacrilege. Incidentally, Toby Stephens is a very talented actor, and he plays James Bond in the radio dramatisations of the books, which currently can be heard on iPlayer, so do give him, I'm not trying to diss Toby, he's a good guy. But darkness fell, and I could feel the end creeping nearer and nearer, like a laser beam focused on Sean Connery's crotch. And I was powerless to save us, like all the women in Roger Moore films. So when you ask if I'm doing this for hate, for revenge, for spite, I'm not. Like a man dangling his once best friend above a vast satellite dish in a Cuban lake, I'll say, no, for me. When Brian and I got back from Calais, the car was obviously pretty loaded. No, hang on. So a bit of politics. Anyone fancy some politics? 12:30, quarter to one, blimey. Quarter to one, politics time. So does anyone remember the Blair government? I remember that. I mean, I was young then, and that was I grew up really under Tony Blair, and that was. It seemed very different to how things seem now. I mean, you can say a lot about the Blair government. You know, it didn't seem to have any kind of socialist principles or ethics or grasp of international law. But one thing it did have was an awful lot of money, and I for one really miss that, because I think the current government, I think, you know, when you compare it to the government, it's more of an attitude like, oh, what's that? You're an old lady. Oh, you seem to have some teeth. Let's just kick those. They're gone. All right, good. Oh, you got a house still. Now let's get rid of that. Oh, yeah. Fuck you. Trust me, please. And then, but actually, I got nostalgic for the Blair government and the years that we're now told are excess. You know, all this spending that went on and all these policies. And I actually looked up some of these things that were actually pretty excessive. None of them actually happened, as far as I can tell. But these are genuine things that you can find them on the BBC website, for the archives. Genuine things that were proposed by the Blair government. Recycling bins on trains. Yeah, okay, logical. An NHS for pets. I can see the merits of that. I'm a cat lover. Any dog lovers in? You're wrong. But yeah, I mean, yeah, NHS for pets. Again, this is just money. You wouldn't have it. Tamagotchis for kids on free school meals. That very much dates it around the 1999-2000 period. Turning Salford into a giant casino. That nearly happened. That very nearly happened. Skate parks. Now, come on. Anyone here of a certain age will remember skate parks. As they became the go-to local government solution for problem youths. It was the thing, like, you know, oh, we've got some graffiti, build a skate park. It's like, oh, but the teen pregnancy's going, I'll build another skate park. It's like, but the people still don't respect our old ways, and they're calling us fuddy-duddies. No one says that anymore. Build more skate parks! That was all that we did. But yeah, I'm half Danish. Segue. I'm half Danish, and before you ask, yes, I can speak Danish, but no, I've never met the woman in The Killing. A lot of people do ask me that. It's a country with 7 million people in it, and I very obviously don't live there. But hey, one thing I've noticed about being Danish is that there's a lot of sayings that they don't really align with British sense of humour, so to speak. My mum had this saying, she said, "Den med begge ben fanger ingen gris." And I said to her one day, what does that actually mean? She said, well, it means people with bow legs can't catch pigs. And I said, right, what does that mean? She said, well, it's because their legs are bent apart, so the pig will just run through it. I said, no, Mum, what does it mean? What does it actually... She said, oh, well, it's because it goes through the leg. I said, right, so that's not actually a saying. That's laughing at people with a disability. You know, there's apparently another popular Danish saying is, "Den med kørestol ikke rescue mennesker fra banking." And that is, people in wheelchairs cannot rescue people from drowning. Dem der er blind skal ikke køre kørestol. And that's, coach drivers should not be blind. It's just, but I don't understand, you know, I mean, all this talk of Denmark, it got me a bit nostalgic, and I looked up Denmark's war record, and that did not go well as an afternoon, because I ended up looking at our sort of holding out time in the Second World War. You know, people familiar with the Second World War will know that it was sort of had the kind of dramatic arc of an action film where the baddies did really well for the first half and then obviously didn't. So all of Europe, pretty much, as we all know, except for us, came under the Nazi heel. And when you look at the actual stats of who lasted, I mean, the French, you know, get a lot of stick. They actually lasted 6 weeks, pretty good. The Poles, first up, 1 month and 5 days. The Dutch, 7 days. You know, very flat, actually. You know, not bad. When it's tanks and that's not that bad. Denmark, any guesses? Any guesses for Denmark? How are we doing? Anyone? 2 days. 2 days? Any advance on 2 days?
6 hours.
6 hours. 2 hours! It was 2 hours. And I was thinking, Return of the King. I was going to do a joke about Return of the King is longer than the time of the Danish war effort. Return of the King is actually a very long film. It's more than 3 hours long. Most modern films are longer than the time that Denmark stood up against the Nazi Germans. It was ridiculous, but no, I do have a lot of pride, actually, as a Dane. I really do, because, you know, we had our own way of resisting, which was just sort of getting on with it. And literally, my mother and my grandmother told me this with pride. The way that they resisted the Germans was that they would just sort of look away and like not look them in the eye on the street when they were walking down the street. And there's a quiet dignity to that. It's not fucking blowing up railway lines, is it? You know, it's not kind of, we'll fight them on the beaches, we'll not serve them when they come to buy their milk. But no, I am very proud of being Danish, because ultimately, you know, I'm half Danish. My mother was Danish, and it's a part of my identity. And you know, as I always say to my dyslexic friend, you can't spell identity.